So I'm sure everyone here knows that this weekend we're coming up on yet another Jewish holiday. Anybody know which Jewish holiday it is on Sunday? Jim? Sorry? Lag BaOmer. Very good. That's impressive technique right there. Any other holiday coming up on Sunday? Mother's Day. Which is the more Jewish holiday, Lag BaOmer or Mother's Day? I won't ask you to vote. Think to yourself. I won't ask you to stand out loud because that could get tricky here. But yes, both Jewish holidays, both, I would argue, Jewish holidays. But let's veer for just a moment toward the Mother's Day holiday. So Mother's Day coming up on Sunday is a time that we have set aside. We, as sort of an American society, have set aside as a special day to celebrate and elaborate on what motherhood is all about. And I would dare say, who knows more about motherhood than the Jewish people? In fact, there are so many stereotypes about what it means to be a Jewish mother that it's almost a little bit disturbing. The stereotypes range everything from Portnoy's complaint to Beverly Goldberg. Anybody know who Beverly Goldberg is? Interesting. Nobody? So there's a great show on television right now. It's been on television for a couple years called The Goldbergs. Has anybody watched it? A few? I would recommend it. It's a great show. It's called The Goldbergs, and it's actually about a family, Jewish family in Philadelphia in the 1980s. And the writer and sort of main character of the show is named Adam Goldberg. He's the real person who writes the show. So he grew up in Philadelphia in the 1980s and was one of these kids who carried a video camera everywhere. So he filmed his own family. He somehow was just this hilarious kid, and it's turned into a sitcom that is marvelously funny. And one of the great characters on the show is Beverly Goldberg. And again, she is become, in some ways, the epitome of at least the Hollywood version of the stereotype of the image that we sort of have of the Jewish mother. And it's wonderful. So she's this great character. We have to be able to laugh at ourselves just a little bit. Just a little bit. So I will admit that as I was looking for thoughts about Jewish mothers for tonight, when I went online to look around and just sort of say, what is Jewish motherhood all about? I came up with lots of things that you wouldn't necessarily expect, such as this. Mrs. Goldberg came home and visited her son Shlomo for dinner. Went over to Shlomo's house for dinner. He lives with a female roommate whose name is Rivka. During the meal, his mother couldn't help but notice that Rivka's a very attractive young woman, and over the course of the evening, watching the two of them interact, she started to wonder if maybe there was more between them than just roommates. So Shlomo picked up on his mother's thoughts because he'd learned over the years to do so, and he volunteered out loud, "I know what you must be thinking, Mom, but I assure you Rivka and I are only friends." A week later, Rivka says, "You know, ever since your mother came to dinner, I can't find the silver sugar bowl. You don't think she took it, do you?" And Shlomo says, I can't imagine she would have, but I'll ask her just to be sure. So he wrote her an email. "Dear Mama, I'm not saying you did take the sugar bowl, and I'm not saying you did not take the sugar bowl from our house, but the fact remains that it has been missing ever since you came here for dinner. Your loving son, Shlomo." A few days later, he received an email back from his mama, which read, "Dear Shlomo, I'm not saying that you do sleep with Rivka, and I'm not saying that you do not sleep with Rivka, but the fact remains that if she was sleeping in her own bed, she would have found the sugar bowl by now. Your loving mama." I also will not ask if anyone in here can relate to that Jewish mama. But I would suggest that the power of the Jewish mama transcends jokes, it transcends TV shows, and it's become larger than life. So for just a moment, if you will humor me, I'd like to ask, what do you think, in all seriousness, what makes up a Jewish mother? What characteristics, what certain elements, what is it when you think Jewish mother, what does that mean to you? In the most positive, heartfelt, personal sense. You can think of your own or not. But when you think Jewish mother, what makes up a Jewish mother? Love, warmth, and caring. good food. Okay? Love, caring, warmth, good food. Yes?
My father was one of 5 children. The fifth was born 10 years after the fourth. And his mother used to take a glass of milk and meet the little one in the kindergarten schoolyard so he can have nutrition at that time.
Bringing milk to the schoolyard. Yes. I can only imagine what the 5th child was thinking every time the mother showed up with the glass of milk. Karen?
The most caring and unconditional love.
Caring and unconditional love.
The keeper and enabler of Jewish traditions.
Great. The keeper and enabler, 2 different things. I like that. The keeper and enabler of Jewish traditions. Thank you. Anything else you think of? What is a Jewish mother?
Maybe a little slight push to do a little better and to become something.
Just a slight push to become a little better and do something with your life. Anything else?
Slightly harder push.
Thank you, Lenny. Slightly harder push. Any others? I know that we could keep going, right? We all have these images, we all have these memories, we all have stories, we all have emotions about it. But the truth is, as I said, I think Jewish motherhood transcends all of this. It's something that we imagine, something that we experience that goes beyond even these little moments. Veering slightly into the more serious, there's an interesting debate that has been going on for a number of years now in the Jewish community. I'd say in the more traditional Jewish community. And it's a bit of an unfortunate contention, but I do think it's intellectually interesting. And that is this. We perhaps don't worry quite as much about this, but for our more Orthodox friends, there are a lot of concerns about who is a Jew. What's the definition of a Jew? And I'm sure we all know that the traditional definition of who is a Jew is if you have a Jewish mother, you are Jewish. Right? That's the traditional definition. We in the Reform movement have gone a bit beyond that, and we would argue that Jewish parent is what makes you Jewish. It doesn't just have to be the woman, but traditionally it's the Jewish mother that makes one Jewish. In recent years, as science has advanced, you can guess that the question may have come up that if somebody goes through some sort of scientific treatment, some sort of in vitro fertilization, or a different woman carrying a baby for a family, there are numerous things that are happening, surrogates, in vitro, all this. Questions begin to come up of where do you define that Jewish mother? And in fact, one of the difficult cases is what happens when a woman carries her own child, but the DNA of that child comes from another woman, right? If there's an egg that gets implanted, for example. And for a long time, the official opinion, even in the Orthodox world, was whoever carries the child is the mother, therefore the child is Jewish. In recent years, it has been sort of switching over, and especially coming from Israel, there is an opinion that's growing in power, I guess, that it's the DNA of the mother who determines Judaism. So even if a woman carries a child for 9 months, if the egg came from somewhere else that's not Jewish, the child would not be considered Jewish. And ultimately, for me, because you can imagine, I'm not so concerned with that definition. That's never going to be our concern here at this temple. But the question becomes, how do we define Jewish motherhood? Is it something in our DNA, or is it something about our experience? And when I asked the question before, what makes a Jewish mother, there weren't any answers that you gave that were about where we come from, or what someone is born as, or what our DNA holds. Everything that you said was about behavior and how we treat people and what a mother would do, what a Jewish mother does, showing up at the playground, right? All these different things. Somehow, to me, I think when we imagine a Jewish mother, it's about what she does. It's about her behavior. It isn't about what might be coded somewhere deep inside. That doesn't mean that we don't have something coded deep inside us that impacts us. But somehow what seems to be most important is our behaviors, and I think that is entirely Jewish. We define ourselves by what we do. Action more than thought. Action more than belief. How we act, that's who we are. That, to me, is what a Jewish mother is. Which, coming full circle, leads me to say that when I look at our tradition as we approach Mother's Day, the question is, what is the point of Mother's Day in a Jewish sense? And for us, it isn't to ask what is a Jewish mother. It isn't to define what's a good Jewish mother or how our Jewish mothers impact us. That's all inside us somewhere. But our action that matters is for us to take that moment to bless the Jewish mothers in our lives, to bless the people who have taken on this role in whatever way they have done it. And so for tonight, what I'd like to ask briefly is for anyone who would like to join me to turn in your prayer books to page 298. I believe it's 298. Yes, 298. And you tonight are welcome to either read this with me on behalf of Jewish mothers everywhere. You are welcome to sit and listen to these words and take them for yourself as a Jewish mother, whatever you choose. But the words at the top of the page come from our Bible. You'll see at the bottom of the page that comes from the book of Proverbs, Proverbs 31. It's just a section of that proverb. But these words in Hebrew are called Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor. And this is a poem that is traditionally read to really Jewish mothers on Shabbat. And it's a way to say that there's something almost intangible, but yet defined by action that makes a woman more than just a woman, a mother more than just a mother, but creates this image and this high value of a Jewish mother. And we read these words as a way to bless those people in our lives. So again, I'd ask us to either, if you'd like to read this with me, to do so, or if you'd like to hear it really read to you on behalf of our congregation tonight, sit and listen to it. But these are the words of our tradition that we use to bless the Jewish mothers that we celebrate not only this coming weekend, but on every week. A woman of valor, seek her out. She is to be valued above rubies. She opens her hand to those in need and extends her help to the poor. Adorned with strength and dignity, she faces the future cheerfully. Her speech is wise. The law of kindness is on her lips. Those who love her rise up with praise and call her blessed. Many have done well, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive and beauty short-lived, but a woman loyal to God has truly earned praise. Honor her for all of her offerings. Her life proclaims her praise. On behalf of each of our own families, on behalf of those women that we hold so dear, whether they are with us today or not, I'd ask us to all join in saying, Amen.